The African Governance Seminar Series, or AGOSS, is a result of a partnership between the University of Witwatersrand School of Governance and the African Peer Review Mechanism, or APRM. AGOSS is a series of research conferences and workshops. It was established in an interactive platform for debate and analysis of developments and trends within governance in Africa. Much like the APRM, there are 4 thematic areas of focus: democracy and political governance, economic governance and management, corporate governance, and socio-economic development. AGOSS brings multiple stakeholders, including academics, practitioners, as well as public and private non-state actors, to dialogue. The platform contributes towards bridging the divide between theory and practice, while encouraging and promoting continent-wide good governance based on African Union values, standards, and codes.
The Africa Governance Seminar series were conceived by the APRM as a way of bringing the practitioners and the academics onto a platform where they can have an exchange to look at what is it in the practice that could be improved as informed by the academia, and what is it in the academia that they can learn from practice. So that was the primary purpose. I'm sure you're aware we have had first, second, and third industrial revolution. In that respect, we focused on 2 sub-themes. The first is the post-COVID era. We were interested in what would governance look like in the post-COVID era. The second was governance reporting. I'm sure you have heard that there are challenges with reporting on the continent in a number of sectors, not just governance. And so we're looking at how the 4th industrial revolution, with what it brings, big data, data analytics, artificial intelligence, automation and so on, how that can actually change the face of governance, from elections, from participation, and in the area of data, how it can improve how data is collected, how data is processed, and how data is shared.
And for us as the APRM, our interest really is governance. So it's governance at 2 levels. At one level is governance of the technology platforms. And it's quite, in Europe, they are quite advanced, you know, how you relate to this global, because all of this technology that we call the 4IRs is actually largely American technologies. Uber is American, Google is American, Facebook is American, WhatsApp is American. They are all American technologies. So we are actually talking about the penetration of our own countries by American technological platforms. And these American technological platforms, they come, they transform our countries, and they are making a lot of money from us, and they don't leave revenue on the ground for the countries.
The main thrust of our argument is that as government in Africa, we need to do better. The responsibilities of the government are enormous, but then so are the opportunities and resources at hand. It wields a lot of power. It wields political power resides in the government. Economic power basically resides in the government. And the control or the frameworks around all of these socio-economic elements also reside with the government. So basically, the government can do and undo, right? In the strict sense of the word government, bearing in mind that there are certain mechanisms that are put in place to check excesses. So we are saying that 2 things have affected, one, preparedness amidst COVID, and secondly, they would also affect recovery after post-COVID. And these two things come under the umbrella of policy. So policy framings, the first is institutional monocropping. So it's an age-long practice that we wait for externals. World Bank, we wait for every other development partner apart from our government to provide data. How can you rely on externals for something that affects you so significantly affects everyone within your jurisdiction?
My main argument is that given the existence of both illiberal and illiberal states in Africa, we will going to face what is called the splinternet, where the invasion, the worldwide internet will be fragmented into national intranets, and that actually gives a leverage for digital autocratic countries to advance their repressive measures, and they will be protected by the digital sovereignty, which was initially enacted to guard against global technological companies from harvesting data and also intruding human rights and also threatening the sovereignty of the state. But the very same sovereignty will actually hinder both non-state and state actors in intervening to secure and make sure that we restore liberal democratic principles that align the continent in achieving its aspiration of integration, because that is only it's actually promised under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and overall the Agenda 2063.
Okay, so my main arguments in my paper were basically looking at the future of 4IR in e-governance, basically just suggesting that government institutions need to observe this new revolution not as a judicial crisis or drastic change of the future, but they need to look at it from a perspective of just focusing on the societal issues that are currently obviously there and addressing that in order for it to lead to good economic expansion. So at the end of the day, they need to look at it from the skills perspective, education, looking at maybe changing the syllabus or including it in the syllabus, working from a grassroots level basically and working your way up. In that regard, I suggest that you cannot just expand or jump to the next revolution if you haven't redressed the issues that we're currently facing or issues that have not even been redressed from the third industrial revolution.
So my main argument to the seminar which has happened and why I believe it is relevant to this particular fourth African Governance Seminar is that I'm trying to push that Africa, we need to move with time. I know that it's only there's a good percentage of Africans who still have no access to internet or they have not moved to the technology. But still, we shouldn't wait for that. We still need to move with time, because as we move with time, that's how we're going to benefit from the global economy as it is. So my argument is that Africa should embrace artificial intelligence in other government aspects. Specifically, in my argument, I said Africa needs to introduce artificial intelligence as a way of fighting corruption.
My paper is trying to integrate what is called social media intelligence into the governance decision-making platform. And so I argue that if we use social media and data obtained from social media to then first monitor human rights violation and civil containment, then that data is one, accurate, it is also very timely, but it also gives policy influencers and policy advisors the kind of solutions that are needed at the moment.
So this seminar was more about governance. So what I did is, after my findings, the recommendation I gave to them is to give more opportunity to border, like introducing what we call artificial intelligence, so that it will facilitate the border check. It also include or introduce what we call robotic border check, so that it will facilitate the trade movement faster. And also I try to recommend to them so they should include what we call rapid trade or rapid transportation, such as cargoes. Instead of using the truck, and human being will be at risk all the time. You will get in the border, they will give you access to get in the other country. They can just use cargo to go faster. And also, if for the commercial country from Egypt all the way to Zanzibar, Tanzania, and then or South Africa, if they can introduce one railway, it will also help to boost the trade volume.
So you can see all these trends. This is what's happening. So we need to look at governance. The governance of these entities is one aspect of it. How do you get the regulatory environment at country level and continental level? We need to learn from the Europeans. So we are going to be doing an exercise in that area, and we'll be taking it to the African Union.
And all these are considerations that the state can make and formalize through legislation, policy, and most importantly, public investment, national budget. As they say, put your money where your mouth is. Where are we spending our money? If we are considering and taking the fourth industrial revolution seriously, are we actually putting in money for that across the sectors, in the education sector, in the health sector, agriculture sector, in the home affairs sector, security sector, and so on.